Okay, it seems to be working, so I'll get off of my own Facebook. And now I'm in the slides. All right, so hopefully everybody can see this now, and I'll keep an eye on the comments again. Right, so just to get into the flow of things. So this is about the basics of editing Wikipedia and some background about why we, as people who study languages and linguistics, want to edit Wikipedia, and why it's good to have events like this, the Wikipedia Editathon, where we have an organized effort to make changes on Wikipedia. So as most of you probably know, Wikipedia is a free online encyclopedia, which is editable and open to changes and access by basically anybody with an internet connection. And so we're going to be talking about what kind of edits we want to do to be the most productive for linguistics and linguistic research and people who want to get access to linguistic information. So this slide, I was adding information, I didn't finish it all the way, but basically when we talk about an editathon, this one is going to be from today, which is March 23rd, still here in Hawaii, and it's going to be until March 26th. So that's 4 days where you can edit anywhere, anytime, and at the end we will have a survey. There's a link in this slide that in the slideshow that I will show you guys. And if you put your information into the survey, then we get all that information together, and we send it to Wikipedia, and we can show the total amount of changes that we've done over this time. So first, some background. Yeah, this is just for people who are listening. Maybe some of you have edited Wikipedia or another wiki or another online encyclopedia before. Maybe you've used a markup or programming language for formatting documents or websites such as HTML or LaTeX or another programming language like Python or R. There's a lot of slides. I am going to go through some of them at a reasonable pace, and then if we have time, I'll go through a huge other chunk of them. There's like 75 slides, 77 slides, but I'm going to go through about 20. There's a link here, but I've already uploaded the slides. But if you follow this link, you can find the slides in your browser. Okay, so this is just a brief overview of the contents. Why are we editing Wikipedia? What kind of Wikipedia articles we want to edit? And then this section we're not going to get into as much today unless we have some extra time, but I'd be happy to answer some questions about it at the end. All right, so the main question, why should we edit Wikipedia as linguists or people who study language? Well, if you do a Google search for just about anything, the first thing that's going to pop up for that topic is a Wikipedia article. And it's a well-known source. It's trusted because it's got a lot of people, a lot of moderators, a lot of editors who are working really hard to make sure that information is accurate and robust and good. So Wikipedia is a source that is readily available for everybody and is fairly reliable. So in terms of linguistics, if we add information on Wikipedia, then when people want to get more basic information about linguistics, then it's really easy to access. It's also a good place to keep a list of topics outside of our own field. And when we work on it, when we edit these articles, it helps us stay engaged with these topics. And so maybe if I work on syntax and I find that there's some articles in phonology, maybe in a nearby language to the language that I'm working on. And if I work on that article, I'm not only learning by looking at those resources, but I'm reminding myself about things that maybe I haven't studied in a while. Good morning, Bema. Okay. So some more reasons that we want to work on editing Wikipedia. Like I just said, it's great practice. It's great review. It's also good. It's good for practicing writing because it's going to be published, and it's also good to practice teaching, right? Because we want to format this information in a way that is really helpful for people with no background or little background, but also for other linguists, right? It's our responsibility as linguists to provide this information and to make these things accessible to the field, to other linguists, and to the public, especially native speakers or people who are interested in learning about languages, especially underdocumented languages and biographies of linguists, which I'll talk about a little bit later also. And another reason is it's fun. Okay, it's another way that you can work with linguists from far away, and you can interact online, and it's just a good way to contribute to the field and contribute to general linguistic knowledge as a whole. Right, so this is a big quote, but I'm just going to focus on the bold parts. For most people, even researchers from closely related areas, summaries and explanations of a piece of research can be a crucial means both to discover and to begin to get into a new piece of research. So Wikipedia can act as a stepping stone, even if the articles themselves are not completely full of all of the information that a researcher might be looking for, right? Because these articles are based on sources, and the sources are listed at the bottom, and the articles provide a very quick, very clear explanation of the topic at the very top. So for people who might be getting into a new subject, it can be a quick stepping stone, and it can be very helpful and very productive for expanding your scope of your research. Also, as I talked about earlier, the articles are often the top search result, and they are a major source of traffic for scientific journals. So basically just providing this information, it makes knowledge and research more accessible. Right, so this slide is about, it might seem like editing Wikipedia might not be very fun, but that's why we have this edit-a-thon, because, right, maybe most of us don't have time in our daily lives. We don't have the motivation to sit down and make edits on Wikipedia, but we have this event every once or twice a year, and that way it sort of motivates people over the span of a couple of days to get together and do this work together and make these changes and contribute to this goal of providing a better source of general knowledge about linguistics, right? So it may seem intimidating, but as we're going to talk about, you don't have to write a whole new Wikipedia page. Every small change and small edit makes a big difference. They all stack up. So this impact, we're going to take down a list of the articles that people have worked on and share it after the workshop. Yeah, so this is not the correct link. I'll show you the correct link. It's later on in the slides, but I can change this afterward and send the updated slides so there's no confusion, but I've already changed it later on. All right, so, but basically what that means is there's going to be, like I said, a survey where people can put in their information, and we can summarize the impact of this event by getting together all of the changes that we've all made together. So the first question, now that we're going to start working on editing Wikipedia articles, is where should we start? What articles should be edited? Well, before I get into that, I just want to show you really quick. I have it open here. The first thing you want to do when we're going to edit Wikipedia is you want to make an account. So you go to wikipedia.org. I'm on the English Wikipedia, and I'm already logged in, but if I log out, up here you can see there's a little tab that says create account. So before you do anything else, you can create an account. It's going to ask you for a username. My username is HakimJ, and that's already in use. You can put in a password. You don't have to put in an email, but it will help you if you forget your password. And just like that, you can start working. So that's the first step. So if you're wondering where to start, that's the first thing you do. But once you get your account, you might be wondering, what kind of articles are we going to work on? So the first place to start is this thing called stubs. Right, so working on linguistic stubs. Here we go. So a stub is an article that's not completely it doesn't have enough information to be its own fully fledged article. It's not complete. So a stub, as defined by Wikipedia, is a very basic description of a topic. Bad articles will also be called stubs. They don't have very much meaningful content, maybe little more than a dictionary definition. Editing or additional material can be helpful. And then adding meaningful content is a priority. So basically, lots of people want to make new articles because they'll say, oh, there's no Wikipedia article for this thing that I know about. And then they make the article, but the only information that they have that comes from a reliable source might be just one sentence. And then they have that article, and that's good. That's a great start. And you can do that. You can make articles like that as part of the edit-a-thon. But it shouldn't stay like that forever, right? So this is how a majority of these articles end up, right? So if you look at this chart, you can see that of all the linguistics articles that have been filtered into this category called linguistics, yeah, there are 1,300 that are stubs, categorized as stubs. So there's so many places that that we can start working. There's another thing called start, which is like a little bit better than a stub. An article that is developing but incomplete and lacks reliable sources. And that's something else I'm going to talk about in a minute. But it provides some meaningful content, but most readers will need more. Providing references to reliable sources should come first. The article also needs substantial improvement in content and organization. Right, so there's also 1,000 starts. Yeah, so you can see here there's even more starts than there are stubs. So if we go up here and we want to, if we want to figure out about how to, like, I have already pulled up this page, but if you're just wondering where to start, you can go to Google. You could type in Wikipedia linguistics stubs. Yeah, or linguistics starts. Oh, that one doesn't. That one's not as easy. But if you do this one, you've got the stubs right here, right? And this can lead you to the other thing, the starts. Okay, and so this divides it into these subcategories where you've got stubs about journals, morphology, semiotics, semantics, syntax. And so basically from here, you can find something that you're interested in, and you can start working on it right away. So let's say we want to work on, I don't know, syntax. Okay. So maybe I'm looking here and I know a little bit about, these are kind of difficult. Let's say I want to write about grammatical construction. Yeah, so this is very short. But I might have a book on hand that I say, oh, there's a really good definition here, and I can add some more sources. That is a really meaningful contribution. Yep, and so you can do the same thing in starts. So why do we want to work on these? Well, they are the least complete, so there's not a lot of people working on them. You're not going to be conflicting with other people, and it makes more of an impact than if you work on a really big article and you make some, minor edits. So if you even adding that minor information like an additional source or an additional definition or some history, these things are really meaningful and impactful. Right, and so any addition is basically an improvement. So here's a link to the stubs if you don't want to look it up. Right, and so this is what I just went over. So another thing that is really good to work on is Wikipedia articles for underdocumented languages. So many of you might do linguistic research on some language, or you might speak multiple languages. And if you've worked or know an understudied language, you should look up its article on Wikipedia, and you may be able to find some information about it. But it may be that the article is pretty small or doesn't have a lot of information, or there might not be one at all. And so if there's no article, or if the article is not have a lot of information, then yeah, you might be able to make a really big contribution to having information about that language online, especially if you have a grammar of that language on hand. So if you look here at this chart, which is similar to the one we've already looked at, you can see that, yeah, there's around 10,000 articles about languages, and 6,500 of them are still stubs. So people have made articles for basically all the languages that have an ISO code, but most of them have not got any farther than that, besides having the article named for them and then a basic description about them. Right. So that's another really great place to start if you're wondering what to do during the Wikipedia edit-a-thon. Okay. So now you might be wondering, okay, so what should we do when we're editing an article? What kind of things can we do? What kind of things can't we do when we're editing a Wikipedia article? So there's a lot of guidelines for editing Wikipedia, but I'm going to go over some basic stuff. So here there's some language stub and language article templates that you can base your work on. And it's important to note that Wikipedia is not where you should write original research, right? So even if you are an expert on the language, fluent speaker, someone who has researched it yourself, stick to published sources, especially secondary ones, not your hunches and field notes, right? So if you've published an article, by all means, that's a great place to pull information. But published research, books, these are the things that we have to use as our sources for this language information. Another good thing to do to contribute to Wikipedia is if you wanted to translate articles. So if you speak another language and that language is Wikipedia, it's missing a... Oh, sorry about that. Hold on a second. Okay. So if you speak another language and that language is Wikipedia, it doesn't have any information in an article that you might be working on in English, and you'd like to contribute to that article's, you might want to add to that article in the other language. So you could translate or copy references from the English Wikipedia page to another language article, and then add that information that's missing from that article in the other language Wikipedia. Right. And so you can add links on the page to the other language pages, the same page in another language at that language's Wikipedia. And so there's a guide here that shows you how to do that. So real quick, I'm going to go back up. Right, so now we're back here. So when we're talking about what kind of things we're supposed to do when we edit Wikipedia, the three main rules. So one of them is what I was just saying, that you shouldn't post your original research, right, that hasn't been published. When we're adding to Wikipedia, everything should be based on a source that you cite in the article, and that way Wikipedia is held accountable and it's reliable, and the moderators know which information is probably the most accurate, right? So the people, it might be a bot or it might be a person, they're going to be trolling through these articles looking for information that doesn't have a source. So it's great to add things, but make sure you're adding it from a source, right? So for example, you can't see me right now, but I have a grammar in my hand for a language called Leti, an Indonesian language. And let's say that I wanted to add some information to the Leti language Wikipedia page. This is just an example, and it just so happens that this article is pretty robust. Right, it's got quite a lot here. And it's mostly based on this book I have in my hand, which is right here. But let's say this wasn't here, right? And this didn't have any information. I could add something here. I could write about the dialects of Leti, and then I would want to add the source, and it would end up down here. And I could show you the beginning of how to do that toward the end of this presentation. But before we get started into the mechanics of how to edit a Wikipedia page, it's important to talk about these things, right? So if we're editing an article about some kind of linguistic theory, or we're editing something that might have multiple viewpoints, we want to make sure that the information that we input has a neutral stance and doesn't argue for any one view, doesn't say that any other approach is wrong, right? It's supposed to be an encyclopedia, okay? And it also has to be verifiable. So anything you add needs to have a source or it might get removed, okay? Right, things don't have to make the article perfect, just better than you find it. Every little thing that you add, it improves Wikipedia. So if you just fix a typo on a page that you come across, that's great. And that's something that you can put in the survey and something you can put on your profile, and it shows the impact that we have as part of this event. Right, so after this webinar is over, you can contribute for the next 4 days. And after that, forever, right? So as part of this edit-a-thon is only over the next 4 days. So we're trying to cram in a bunch of work now because basically that shows Wikipedia that we are working together and we're making a difference. But you can do it whenever you want. You can get on Wikipedia and make a change whenever you feel like it, whenever you have downtime or whenever you are thinking, oh, I just came across this article that's not very good or that has something wrong. I'd like to make a change. You can do that anytime. Right. It's already you already know all the main references for whatever you work on. And so when you're looking across Wikipedia, you might say, oh, I have something that would make this a lot better. I know a book, I have it in my hand. I could just throw it on there. That's very helpful. And you can also mention this in your applications, right? Because it has a concrete impact, right? It is every edit we do is measurable, and we're making this research and this information more accessible to the public, and that's very good, right? And you of course can use these slides. I didn't make these. I'm using them because they are part of Creative Commons. You can use Wikipedia in your classroom. You can have a large group edit together, and you can track their progress, right? There's a lot of things you can do here. There's always places to improve Wikipedia. Here is the wiki resources. So this will take you to a page that, just a bunch of pages that need work, need translating, things like that. So this is the link, if you guys are still watching, this is the link that I would like you to go to at the end of this edit-a-thon to put in the work you've done. So if you click it, it will take you to this survey, and you can put in your name, your Wikipedia username, what kind of things you did, the URL of the articles you worked on, what days you worked on, things like that. Okay, so this is very important because this is how we show Wikipedia that we're all working together, and it's a way for us to measure our impact of our edit-a-thon. Okay, so before we go too far, I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like to edit an article. Okay, oops. So I'm logging into my account. So just some basic things. So I've logged in. Here's this place called Notices. It'll give you information about changes that have been made to articles that you've worked on. You have a talk page, which is also stuff that's happening with your account. Contributions page. So basically, let's say I wanted to edit the Leti language page, because I have the grammar right here in my hand. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to look up, okay, let's see if this has a page. So Leti language does have a Facebook page, right? And so if I want to edit, I just go here and I click this button, edit. It also has a shortcut you can see right now, Alt-Shift-E. So if I press that, it'll go into editing mode. So there's two editing modes. There's one that has a very nice user interface, and it just looks like the Wikipedia page, and I can click in it and I can type things and I can make changes. I'm not going to do that right now because I haven't decided what change I'm going to make. But this is called visual editing. Okay, there's another way called source editing, and this is what's more like HTML or LaTeX code. Okay, this is the Wikipedia source editing language. Okay, but this is pretty complicated, and so it might be easier if you just go to visual editing. But everybody has their different backgrounds. So for me, I like to use this visual editing. So I do the one with the eye, right? So I click this pencil and I do the one with the eye. Okay, and so right. So let's say I wanted to add something. Let's say I wanted to add something about an example. Okay, so I might add it here. This is just an example. I'm not going to save these changes. But let's say I add this example and I need to do a different citation. So the first thing that I want to do, as soon as I add something new, is I want to go to this button cite. Okay. Right. And so the great thing about this is that they have an automatic lookup for if you have the URL from a website, the DOI code, or I don't know what you call this, the DOI from a publication, the ISBN number of a book, or you can even search by the title or another citation, right? So if you have the citation, you can just paste it and they'll probably be able to draw the information from that, right? So I'm using this Leti grammar. I have a grammar of this language. So I'm just going to type in the ISBN number, which I find inside the front cover of the book, and hopefully it will be able to generate a citation for me. Boom, right there. They have it. And so easy as that. I don't need to worry about making the citation. I just click insert, and now I've added it to the page. Okay, of course, like I said, I'm not going to save these changes because this is just for show. And if I did save it by accident, probably somebody would come through really quick and they'd be able to fix it. So yeah, you can edit it later. But let's say I want to add another citation. Oh yeah, thanks, Greg. So DOI is a digital object identifier. So it's like a code that is associated with a lot of things like publications. Some books have a DOI. And you can find those by just looking up the source, and sometimes at the publication website, it will have the DOI, and that will allow you to automatically generate this citation. Right, so if I wanted to do a citation, and let's say I looked up something, I don't know, I wanted to look up a language that I look it up and the ISBN doesn't show up, right? Or the title doesn't show up and they can't find it. So then I would just do a manual citation, okay? And this is not as easy, but you can do it a little bit quicker. So let's say I'm citing the book. So I click book, and then I just fill in the information. Last name, first name, title of the book. These are the author. Yeah, and I think you can add extra authors here, add more information. So you can add more authors, right? Things like that. So this is basically the most important things that you're going to be doing when you're adding information on a Wikipedia page. You just need to know how to edit the page, know where to type, and know how to add citations, because these are the main steps. Things like adding an info box, adding images, right? These come later. And so the main thing that you want to do is you want to be able to make these small changes like, oh, I have a grammar in my hand. I have a book about that right near me, and I know that I can add a little bit of information, and I can add the citation, and it won't take me that long, right? So I'm going to get out of this just so I don't save any changes. Leave. Okay, and that's basically the gist of editing Wikipedia. So for this edit-a-thon, right? Oh, let me get back up here. Yeah, for this edit-a-thon, I think the main process for anybody who wants to participate, so what I'm going to be doing over the next few days is I'll log in to my account, or if you don't have an account, you can make a new account. I will spend some time looking for articles that I can edit, or spend some time looking through the articles that are related to the things that I work on, right? So right now I'm studying a language called Nassau. Okay, so I go to Nassau language. Let's see how the Wikipedia page looks. Okay, it's actually really short. Well, so there's not a lot of things published about it, but I think at least a little bit more information could be put on here. At least based on this citation, which is not correctly put in here. So right, so there's already a lot of work that I see I can do. I can add this correctly to the list here instead of just being a bullet point by itself. I can put some information from that source here. I can make sure that everything is clear. And then another thing that's really useful is linking Wikipedia pages together. So if I'm writing and I want to add some more information and link the pages together, right? I just look through the words and I say, okay, Austronesian language. This is something that I know has a page for sure. And if I want to check, I can just go up here, Austronesian language, right? Oh, that's definitely a page. So what you can do is you can click on something and you can click this button, link, and it will link the Wikipedia pages together. So that's another thing you can do that doesn't take that much effort, and it makes it easier to navigate through different related pages, and it makes it easy to get through a lot of information quickly, right? Right, so the process I'm going to go through. I'm going to make these changes, might add some citations. At the end, I'm going to click Publish Changes, and it will get saved as contributions that I've made under my profile. And at the end of the edit-a-thon on March 26th, I'll go here to this link. Not the first link, the one up there was the wrong. This is the wrong link. So make sure you go to this one, and I'll post this link in the Facebook group as well, maybe as a comment under this video. So you go here, and I'll fill out all the work that I've done. And even if you've only edited one article, it's still worth filling out this survey so that we can see all the people who've worked together as part of this edit-a-thon and all the people who have participated, watched the webinar, things like that. And then I'll submit that, and when the edit-a-thon is over, I'll keep making changes whenever I see them, but yeah, there will be another edit-a-thon in the future. So that's basically all I have for now. There's a lot more information in this slideshow. Obviously, there's if you want to go to these resources, they are pretty good. Just making sure you guys can still see it. There's a lot of really good resources here because Wikipedia is so big. So there's a lot of good guides. How writing helps your writing. How writing for Wikipedia helps your academic writing. These simple rules for editing Wikipedia, guidelines for making Wikipedia editing into an assignment if you're a teacher, right? So there are lots of ways that we can encourage other people to participate too, even if it doesn't happen over the next few days as part of this edit-a-thon. Okay. So now it's 3:45 here in Hawaii. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. So if you have a question, please post in the comments. But if not, then I can go through some more slides. We can all just go on our way and make our individual contributions. So I'll just leave a few minutes here if anybody has any questions. Let's see. This is I think this is what's wrong. So if I'll fix that, go to Enderbeck, Apilani Nassau. Right, so the first thing, even when I look for the specific source, the first thing that pops up is the Wikipedia page. So, right there, I'm using this weird search engine called DuckDuckGo, but I think it'd be the same in Google. So let's look at this publication that I want to cite. What is my favorite thing about editing Wikipedia? So my favorite thing about editing Wikipedia is the way that, I initially was a bit intimidated because, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Do I have to make a whole article? But my favorite thing about editing Wikipedia is how I can make small changes over a long time. And as everybody is making small changes to articles like that, it ends up making a big difference. Okay, so if I go to, let's look at Irabu Island. Right, this is a Wikipedia page. Look at the history. So I made this page about Irabu Island because I've been to Irabu Island, and I just used the Irabu Island Japanese website to find information. And you could see all the changes that I made, right? And then other people started to make changes. Little tiny changes, merging sentence about bridges. And eventually, people made so many changes that it became a nice article. It's still pretty small, but it's a nice start, right? It has an image, it has information about the people who live there, and people can find out that it exists when otherwise they might not have been able to, just from these sources. So yeah, I like that it's not that hard to make an impact on Wikipedia. It's fun and it feels good, even if you don't have a lot of time. You can just spend a couple hours and make a big difference. Good morning. Good morning, Mohammed. I saw a comment which has since disappeared, but it said, "Can you edit anytime?" There it is. Yes, of course, you can edit Wikipedia anytime. So the goal of this editathon is to sort of motivate people to edit Wikipedia together. Whereas if we didn't have the editathon, maybe people would feel too busy or not have the motivation. But if we all are doing it together, it's kind of supposed to motivate us. But of course, after the editathon is over, you can definitely continue to edit Wikipedia. You can do it anytime, really anytime. Just if you create an account, especially, you can edit whenever you want, right? So if you're working and you're doing research and you look something up and you find the Wikipedia article and you find something that's wrong, or you find something that's not very complete, you say, oh, I know I can add to this. You can just click edit when you're logged in with your account, and you can make a change like that. You can click edit. You can say, oh, this part about the languages doesn't have a citation, and you can make the citation right here because you know, oh, I've been reading about this for my own research, and that's really helpful. Adding citations is one of the most helpful things you can do. So if you find a piece of information and you know a reliable source to add as a citation, that's a great thing you can do for sure. Thank you. Very nice question. I'll keep an eye there. Let's see. This doesn't have any ISBN number or anything, so let's go back to Nassau language, spelled just like nasal. Yeah, and please feel free to ask any questions if you have any other questions. I know there's a lot of stuff you might be wondering about how to do certain things in Wikipedia, and if you want to ask about that, I can try to help you. But also, if you look through these slides, there are lots and lots of good slides with lots of information. For example, a part that I didn't get to talk about, biographies of linguists. So that's another thing that you can do. It's important to make sure you're using the right information, but lots of linguists have articles written about them on Wikipedia, which is really good, and it's great to be able to find out about academics and writers and linguists through Wikipedia. But it's lopsided in that it's far more common for a male linguist to have their own Wikipedia article than female or minority linguists. So one thing you can do is, once you make sure that this person you want to write about fits into this category, you can add an article for that person to make Wikipedia more equal, right? An equality of information where everyone is starting to be represented more equally, more fairly, right? So that's another thing we can do. And there's a lot of information here about biographies, how to create a new article, right? What kind of content. So these are things that it would take a long time if I went through every single one, but you can do this, right? You can go through these and you can make these changes. Okay. So I really want to make this one change while I'm doing this. Let's see if I can just copy this and then delete this, add a citation, paste the whole citation. Let's see. Pretty close, but something went wrong for sure. Yeah. I don't think that's what I'm looking for, so I'll have to do it manually later on. Which is funny because I already did it manually, but it sort of popped up weird down here. But anyway, so these are the kind of things you do, right? You want to fix the you want to fix these things that aren't really put in here correctly. Boop. Yeah, okay. I was getting worried that stuff disappeared. Anyway. All right, I will wait 1 or 2 more minutes to see if anybody has any questions. But if not, then I wish you all luck in editing Wikipedia articles. Like I said, I will post the link to the survey to make sure that we all report our work, because that shows Wikipedia what we are doing. And in turn, they help LDTC organize events like this in Hawaii and through this webinar like this. Let me see, maybe I'll... Hello. Okay, I think probably I'm back on the camera. So yeah, if there's no more questions, then good luck with your editing. Hopefully I can participate in another webinar soon, but thank you for letting me do this, and I hope that everybody is staying safe and taking care of yourselves in these uncertain times. But we can still work on Wikipedia, right? We can still do things like communicate over the internet and cooperate and work together to increase accessibility for research and linguistic knowledge. So yeah, thank you very much. Aloha.